All right. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. And we are delighted to have Tom Doran from VCIO Global joining us. Tom's going to be talking about what does AI mean for Microsoft Dynamics. And as a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again or share it with anyone. We do encourage you to ask questions during our presentation, so please feel free to type them into the questions box and we will get them answered at the end of our session. So I'm going to kick it over to Tom to begin the presentation.
Well, thanks, Angie, and good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen. How we doing, Angie? Can they see my screen? Or can you see my screen?
Yep. If anybody can't, raise your hand and enter in the chat if there's any issues along the way. Just let me know.
So this morning, we're going to just talk a bit. There's been a lot of buzz, certainly if you're watching the news or if you're listening to releases from Microsoft. AI is just every place. If you saw the Super Bowl, Microsoft was talking about their CoPilot personal assistant, which is a major component of Microsoft's AI strategy. And so we're going to go through this morning and talk just a little bit about what that might mean for Dynamics. A little background for me. Oh, not advancing, Angie. Let's see here. There we go. Oops. All right. Well, we'll go back. There we go. All right. So just a little bit of background. Many of you I know from my time with Innovia. Prior to that, I was in the frozen food business and now currently with VCIO Global, helping companies align their software and systems with their business strategy. And today, we're just going to talk a little bit about what's been going on. What does this mean? What are our opportunities? And maybe some tips and takeaways that you might try to begin to incorporate in your business today. So, disruption is a constant part of business. And while nobody likes change, change is something that I think many of us have come to understand is a very consistent part of our business experience. And so when we think about, how do we respond to these changes? This is a joke, but it's not a joke. If we put our head in the sands, particularly around AI, it is this speaker's opinion that you're probably a bit in trouble here. And so to try to take away the fear, right? Human beings don't like change. That is just a natural part. Social psychology tells us that change is very unnerving to a human being. And for the accountants on this call, change is even less comfortable, right? I mean, double entry accounting hasn't changed in over 600 years. So, accountants particularly like things to go sort of the way they've always gone. But in this case, I just don't think that that's going to be an option. And so I tried to think of a few examples where there has been significant disruption or change in the technology arena that affected our businesses. So, for those of us that are a bit older, and when the cloud first started to come out, I talked about service bureaus. There was a day not long before I got into the business world where people couldn't afford to have computers in their buildings. They rented time on mainframes and other people did their data processing. Back to that previous slide, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, now in the cloud, which is frankly no different than a big, huge service bureau, we are paying for processing time on somebody else's servers rather than putting them in our business. But, the disruption with personal computers, 3D printing. 3D printing was a huge disruptor. There was a lot of discussion that, engineers were going to be wiped off the face of the earth. Well, I think that if you look around at the engineers, and for those companies on this call that are using 3D printing or additive manufacturing for prototypes in particular, our engineers are as busy as they've ever been, and we're able to be more responsive to our customers. Uh, COVID, right? Think about teams. When there is this old saying that says that luck is when opportunity meets a prepared mind. Well, nobody would have called COVID lucky except maybe Microsoft, right? Because Teams, the use of Teams and video chat and calling has just exploded. And it's caused companies to rethink how they engage, how do they meet, what kind of office space is appropriate in order for our teams to be productive. And so all of these represent change, and AI is really no different. But how is it different? And this is a great slide, and there's a lot going on here, so I'm going to leave it for a second, but just think about some of the things that you likely interact with. Netflix, right? How long did it take them to get to 1 million users? 3.5 years. How long did it take GPT? 5 days. The adoption and the people beginning to use these tools is very rapid. And how this is going to manifest itself in our businesses is frankly yet to be seen. But Microsoft is absolutely giving us some clues. And so we'll talk just a minute on, what are our opportunities? What are our risks? So when we think about, the opportunity that exists before us with AI, the analogy that I like to think about is steno pools. And for people that are maybe roughly my age, you know what a steno pool is. For people that are under 40, you likely might have to go look up what a steno pool is. I'll have a picture for you in a minute. But it was a room full of people that would type stuff all day long. That's what they did. They typed, stenographers. And so, there are no more steno pools. People don't do that anymore. Now, our workforce is as big as it's ever been. Those people don't have that particular job, but they have another job. They have a new job. They have a different job, and they're adding value and they're receiving compensation for different types of things. And so when we think about our opportunities, look at your businesses and say, hey, where are we spending a lot of time entering data? How do we handle expense management is a big deal. If you're an Innovia customer, obviously Continua and some of the other tools that are being used now, rather than processing a bunch of receipts and dumping everything over to accounting, all of that's being automated. You take a picture of your receipt, you put a few notes on it, it passes right through and helps your accounting team process expenses far more efficiently than they used to in the past. But more subtle things that have taken a lot of manpower that are still going to add a lot of value. Fraud detection, tax compliance. These are complicated, detailed analysis that certainly in small and mid-sized companies, we don't have a whole credit department to check this out. Probably it's an additional duty with our accounting team. And so we see AI is using the information that's readily available and helping us discern and process information, make suggestions. The tax code is a known set of data. So, large language learning models, these the tax code is a great example. It can digest the entire tax code. And then as we begin to look at compliance questions, those things can be answered in seconds, rather than having to, reach to our outside CPA or some other tax expert. And so there are many opportunities, and we'll we'll talk just a little bit more about those in a few minutes. But uh, we see the potential for AI in driving efficiency and expanding opportunities to be tremendous. Risks, and so with any new technology or a disruptive business event, there are some risks, and so as business leaders and business owners, we want to be thoughtful about what does this mean within our organization. Many companies refer to their uh, staff members as team members. Some even call them family members. And so if we go back to the steno pool example, job displacement, if you had a great typist, they were banging out 100 plus words a minute. Those were great typists. Well, we want to think about how do we help those people in the journey where what they currently do within our organization simply may not exist anymore. So, how do we retrain them? How do we develop a roadmap so that we have taken a compassionate view towards a business reality and helped our team respond appropriately? Risks, data security. So, AI is great at combing data. But, for the folks that are on this call, I think most of you are likely Microsoft Dynamics customers. And most of you who have set up security or attempted to set up security in Dynamics, you go in and invariably there is a reasonable percentage where you see that people said, oh, tried that, tried that, tried that, make them super, and will hide stuff on their screen so they don't see things that they shouldn't see. But the security underpinnings aren't there. Well, now with AI, if I start to ask questions, it's going to comb my internal domain or external, if that information is out there, to give me results, potentially sensitive payroll information. And so we really need to think about our data security, proprietary information, designs and drawings that we wouldn't want out in the public domain. Those are all things that we need to be developing strategies around, right? Is it going to put us out of business? I don't think so. But might it expose information that we would have preferred to have kept private? That's a pretty good certainty. And so we want to have strategies around that. I'm not going to read all these to you, but I think reputational harm and consumer and team member trust are two really critical components here. So, reputational harm, right? What are the odds that either an internal disgruntled person or somebody doing a deep fake with AI using our brand? These are things, it is an unfortunate reality, but when you look up deep fakes, people are doing terrible things to individuals. And at some point, you're going to see these bad actors do terrible things to companies and brands if we don't have a strategy around how we prevent that. And hand in hand with that reputational harm is consumer and team member trust. Communication is the key. Being as transparent as you're comfortable being is a key. And so, how do we make sure that those people in our business universe understand that we're being thoughtful, that we're being honest, and that we're communicating with them clearly are all ways that you're going to be able to mitigate some of the risks that present themselves with AI. Angie, before I prattle on, any questions that have popped in?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. And please just stop me, and otherwise I'll just continue. So, uh, the seven deadly sins, but we want to make sure everybody gets excited. Many of you have heard me give my talks around CRM and CRM adoption, but a lack of a coherent plan or a grab for what is perceived to be some huge opportunity that's ill-defined. I talk about the sales pipeline, right? What drives more CRM projects to start than anything else? Business leaders went, they saw the pretty picture of the pipeline. They came back to IT or whoever's running this part of that business, and they say, hey, I want that sales pipeline. Give me that. Well, without a strategy about understanding why, it's real easy to run down a rabbit hole or overreach without making sure that this is really aligned, right? So we don't want to be greedy in our approach to AI. We also don't want to overthink what it will or what it will not do in our business. And so the moral of the story here is, let's think about our business strategy. You're going to hear me say this several times, but I don't care whether you're talking about putting a new press on your shop floor, or you're talking about warehouse in automation, or whatever other thing that you're looking to invest in. We need to understand how it aligns to our business strategy, how it's going to help us serve our customers better, how it's going to help us reduce costs, become more efficient, and then we can apply the tool using that framework. So we'll talk just a little bit, but one of the most important reality checks, we do not see a case where AI is going to wildly wipe out most of our jobs, at least not in our lifetime. But there are many things that you can do today that begin to integrate AI into your businesses. And I'll take a second here in a few minutes and I'll show you some of the things that Microsoft has already done that you can take advantage of. So again, first step, look at your business plan. Where are you trying to go? What is your why? Why are you in business? What are you trying to do? And then we can look at the hows and the whats behind how we go about doing it. Monitoring customer behavior. Listen to your customers is been a mantra in business for a long time. But sometimes in the crush of business, we forget. Microsoft, using customer insights, has been developing tools that enable us to do a better job of listening to our customers, discerning what they like or what they don't like. And AI, we see as a big magnifier. We were in a meeting yesterday at Microsoft offices, and there was a group of engineers from the Microsoft Fast Track team there. And they were talking about how the additional investments in customer insights are going to help. Right now, customer insights are really good. It goes out and it combs LinkedIn and other social and business media sites to help us mash that up with our ERP data and present to us a more comprehensive view of our customer and what we believe is important to them. AI, through its learning model, will begin to magnify that capability and make suggestions around things that it thinks our customers may well be interested in. So when we think about new product launches, complementary products, and whatnot, these are areas where customer behavior gives us an opportunity to increase our sales. Think about your own experience. We talk about this a lot, but when we work with teams around business strategy and determining team structure, software alignment, think about your own experiences when you interact with someone that you like. Amazon, your favorite coffee shop, maybe a restaurant, a hotel, uh, a shopping experience. What are the things that you enjoy? When you finish an interaction, when do you walk away and go, wow, that was really great? Or when do you feel that friction? When did it, not just a total blow up, right? It's really easy to see the egregious lapses, but where is there friction where you think to yourself, "Hmm, that didn't feel great. Wasn't a total train wreck, but it wasn't as good as it could have been." AI is going to give us a chance to remove that friction. There's the steno pool for folks that don't understand our steno pools. There's our steno pool and what they were doing. But determine those areas within your business where there's a lot of mundane tasks, lots of data entry in order to get a transaction finished. AI is going to help us bring that data into our system more cleanly, more easily, more quickly, so that we can be more value add in our business. And then think about areas where uh, we uh, we get stuck in our business. When we have bottlenecks, places where we either need to do a double check, we need to get an approval, we need to find a path to keep a transaction flowing so that we can serve our customer. And so, Power Automate is for those of you that have tried to use Power Automate over maybe the last 2 or 3 years. If you've continued to stick with it, which God bless you for doing that, because 3 years ago it didn't work all that great. But in typical Microsoft fashion, if you've abandoned it, I'm going to encourage you to come back and try it again, because Microsoft has made it so much easier today. There's so many more opportunities. There's way more templates, and AI is just going to supercharge. Again, the Microsoft engineers have shared with us their plans around Power Automate, and it is going to be a tremendous tool within our businesses. And so I would encourage you today to get out and start to work with Power Automate. Figure out that tool, because it's going to help you improve the flow within your business. And then shore up your data. So a large language learning model is looking at data. And so if our data is a mess, it's going to have a tough time giving us proper information. And so we want to begin or continue the journey towards cleaning up our data, so that when the AI tools do use our data as a foundation for whatever recommendations it's going to make, then we can be more confident that we're going to get accurate results. And then strengthen the QA, right? So we can't move so fast that we don't do a double check on the results that we're getting from whatever solution that's using AI as its backbone. It's going to be an iterative process. We need to make sure that we're doing that quality assurance step to either coach the AI tool to do a better job, or modify those prompts, modify the bots so that they are doing the appropriate job for us. So, what's Microsoft have to say about all of this? Everybody hears or thinks about the Chat GPT investment, which was a huge investment, right? $14 billion. It's a lot of money. But Microsoft is making multi-billion-dollar bets in other places. They don't present this number clearly, but when I go through the press releases and the things that are publicly available, two areas where you don't necessarily think. There's a huge investment in Australia going on right now, and we're going to see other investments in other parts of the world. If you look at CoPilot, your everyday AI companion, I've got to tell you, if you're not using CoPilot, I would strongly encourage you to download it. Just download it on your phone. And instead of Google, or instead of whatever your favorite search is, Bing, uh, use CoPilot and just start to try to see how it interacts. I've had to rethink how I interact with CoPilot, but I find it to be really, really handy not for every task, but for a lot of tasks where Google would have given me a static response. But because the prompt allows me to continue the conversation with the AI bot, I am getting an iteratively better response, which makes whatever I'm looking for work that much easier. And so last night, great example, tough travel day. And so my flight's delayed. I'm not going to drive as far as I thought I was after I got done. And I wasn't totally familiar with the area. And so I asked, hey, show me these Marriott properties. I'm a Marriott guy. I said, show me these Marriott properties on my path. And it was a little hazy. And I said, okay, show me the Marriott properties that are closest to my ultimate destination tomorrow. And it did that just famously. And so in about 2 or 3 minutes, I knew which hotel I wanted to stay at. So when the plane landed, I could get on my way and have some confidence that I wasn't going to have to search around for a hotel. These are small things, but they're going to add up. So how do we put AI into practice within our business and within our Microsoft environment now? Azure AI services. It's a great way to get started. For the more technical folks on the call, I would strongly encourage you to get that set up. CoPilot. So CoPilot is going to be a pervasive component and a friendlier face, frankly, on the Microsoft AI engine. And so talk to your network administrator, whoever controls the security around your business, but see if you can't get a pilot going so that you can download CoPilot, get it hooked up with Office, Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams. These are all places where you can fairly safely use CoPilot and begin to get a feel for what it will and what it will not do. One of the examples I love to use is CoPilot within Teams. How many of us have been on or were supposed to be on a call for whatever reason we couldn't make it? And so our friends in the company say, hey, don't worry, Randy, we recorded this call for you. I'll send you the link. Well, it's a 90-minute call, and I'm going to have time to listen to that exactly when? Probably not. But with Copilot, I'm going to get a handy summary at the end. It's going to give me the bullet points of what was discussed. It's going to show me if my name was called out and if there were tasks assigned to me. It will actually suggest tasks and follow up at the end. And it also gives a sentiment read. So it's listening to the voices, it's listening to the conversation, and then it shows us with a color code, where things might have a bit of a negative sentiment so that I can very quickly in 10 or 15 minutes in a 90-minute call, get the basic components. I can see my follow-ups. I can look in and say, if there was any issues on that call, how do I dive in and just listen to that section so that I can help? Chatbots. So, many of us have been on websites. Some of us have been on our own websites and winced a little bit. But chatbots that do a great job are actually pleasantly surprising. Chatbots that just go through the mechanics of giving rote responses are frustrating because when we choose to go to a chatbot, we're looking for help. Well, AI is going to learn how our customers ask for help. When an answer to a customer responds and says that was a good answer. So if we think about your Microsoft partner as an example, well, support tickets are a known quantity of answers. If I have solved how to reverse a warehouse entry that has reservation entries against it, and I know how to do that once, there's no further skill in doing that. AI can know that, and AI can present the steps to an end user that tells them how to solve their own problem. There's value add there for the customers. They get quicker responses, they can do more self-serve, and they can have the partners do more value add work rather than rote repetition of problems that have been solved 100 times. The Power Platform, you're going to see much more AI coming out through there. And then within the Dynamics 365. So I was in Europe this past fall, and we spent time with the Microsoft development team, and it was fascinating to listen to the things that they're working on. They actually showed us a chat bot, CoPilot within Business Central. It's not ready for release just yet in this particular feature, but it customers were asking questions on how to solve a problem. They had gotten, there's always the distinction between a message box and an error, right? Because end users, any box that pops up that stops you is an error, but they're not all errors. Some of them are just messages. And so this co-pilot was helping an end user move through one message and two errors that were preventing the transaction. And AI told them how to solve the problem and how to complete the transaction. Those are going to be really helpful features that are going to help Microsoft Dynamics users be more effective in their use of the system. So, whoops, one of my more favorite slides, sorry, I'm lagging there, is this Darwin. And there's 3 or 4 versions of this particular survival of the technology fittest. But the fact is, you don't have to be the smartest. You don't even have to be first, but you do have to be adaptable. And so one of the analogies I use here, so in 1996, if you had a website, you were absolutely cutting edge. You were the leader. You were some kind of technology genius because you had a website for your business. Fast forward 20 years, websites were table stakes. You had to have a website. If you were going to do customer service the way your customers want it, set aside e-commerce, customer portals, vendor portals, portals for our team. Those are all tools that are blanket websites. Well, today you have to have that stuff. And so now when we look, and websites used to be hugely expensive, right? Now within our Power Apps, Power Pages give us an ability to spin up vendor portals, customer portals, portals for our departmental teams. These are things that can be spun up very quickly by our internal teams and give us good, solid information and make us easier to do business with. And so we have to stay abreast of these tools within our Microsoft ecosystem and then figure out again, how do they help us improve the service for both our internal and external customers? So I'm going to switch just a second. I am going to jump past this one. There are a fair number of resources, and I'll bring this slide back up, but I want to get out of these slides and jump over here for just a minute. Whoops. So I'm not certain how many of you have reviewed the release notes for Business Central over the years, but if you haven't done it lately, I'm going to suggest to you that you bookmark these pages, because Microsoft has made digesting this material much easier. And so they very clearly forecast and lay out what features they're working on, what areas of the product they're going to affect, and you can begin to discern where you think there's going to be value for your company. But if I pop down and just look at the release planner site, you'll see that this has all been reasonably well laid out, right? This is not a huge, heavy thing for you to try to digest at a high level. And so if you're not using the Power Platform, you probably should be. but I'm not going to drag you through all of them. I'm just going to look at CoPilot and AI innovation. Now, gang, this is just for Business Central, right? 2, 4, 6, 8 areas. And these are big areas that Microsoft is investing in. And you can drill into any one of these. You can look and see, determine how might this help or improve our business, and get into your sandbox and begin to think about that. When I think about your sandbox, and there's things you can do now, so I'll flip over to Business Central. But get in your sandbox, go look at feature management. And there's a few things people get a little bit wonky about, whether it's machine learning or whether it's uh, AI. For business owners, what I would say is potato. Who cares whether it's machine learning or AI or the clapper that turns the lights on in the warehouse? Who cares? If it helps us, you can call it whatever you like. But there's two features right now that you could enable within your sandbox that are released. And so the bank account reconciliation is pretty cool. It does enhanced matching. It enables us to much more quickly balance our checkbooks and get all of that taken care of. And it's going to learn, right? So once it understands the activity within your banking relationship, it's going to continue to do a better job with these types of features. And so there's going to be a lot of areas within Business Central and within the Microsoft ecosystem in general that should make a huge difference in the short term in driving efficiencies within our business. So hopefully that was helpful for everyone. And I will bring this slide back up for those that are looking to maybe copy those links down at the bottom. But Angie, any questions that have come in since I started prattling around here?
I thought you'd never ask. Yes, we do have a question that came through. We have installed Copilot in our environment and have a couple of SharePoint sites connected. Copilot does not seem to return many results from these sites when we ask a question. Do you have any tips for improving the search results?
And so there's a couple of things that you might think about there. So iterative use of our prompts. So AI is a fairly literal tool. And so when we begin to ask the AI questions, well, two things. One, and I'm assuming based on your question, you're a little sharper than this, but I wasn't, and maybe other people were or are where I was at. I'm a bit OCD, right? I ask a question, I have Google open, I ask a question, I close the browser. With AI, the prompt, the chat, the search is iterative. And so keep that open. If you didn't get the result you were expecting, refine your prompt and ask it again. And then start to go look at your SharePoint site, make sure that what you were expecting it to return is in fact there. And then you may want to check your SQL security and make sure that the bot is allowed to crawl. There are some add-on products that may help. I think Copilot should do a great job within your domain, but it does need to learn your network topography, and it does need to learn how to give you the responses that you're looking for. So beyond that, it's hard to say, but those would be my initial responses.
Uh, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. Do you see companies implementing security policies so people aren't uploading sensitive company information on AI tools?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent question. So we've seen really the gamut. So we have some customers, fairly large names that you would know, that have absolutely prohibited the use of any public domain AI tools, meaning that anything that will publish our data uh, to the wider universe is forbidden. Now, they are beginning to use some tools that just are restricted to our domain, but the security and compliance, there's many factors going on there. Everybody thinks about your proprietary data, but if you're a publicly or SOX regulated type company, there's information that you simply cannot share um, ahead of any reporting period or things that would put you in violation of any SEC regulations. And so your security, your federal or governmental compliance, if you're a DOD, Department of Defense, uh, partner. Those are all areas where you're going to have to take a good hard look, not only with your network security, but probably with your legal department as to what will and will not be allowed within your environment.
Okay, thank you. Another one. When you refer to Copilot, do you mean Microsoft Copilot or Copilot for 365?
So Microsoft Copilot, so Microsoft broadly brands their AI tools and are rebranding their tools Copilot. So when I say Copilot, I mean Microsoft in general Copilot, whether that's M365, Business Central, or otherwise.
All right, thank you. If anybody else has any further questions, please get them into the Q&A and we will get them addressed.
Well, while we're waiting and assuming that maybe we've answered all the questions, I do want to thank all the attendees for taking the time. This is a great topic. Hopefully, it stirs conversation. Your friends at Innovia can help guide you through the co-pilot discussions. They've got my number. If I can help at all, I'm happy to help. But it's an exciting time. You just want to make sure that you're planning today for how AI will or will not be a fit within your business going forward.
We do have another question.
Great.
Do you see security in B365 being better with AI? Often small, medium companies have a secret sauce for its success. What would keep a MS or partner from quietly mining your data to scout for new opportunities at your expense?
Well, one would sure like to think integrity, but your question is well taken. So, a couple of things. So, the global delegated admin is one area where Microsoft, having been a partner for over 25 years, the idea that we would come in and we would get global admin and we would have keys to the kingdom for all but our most highly regulated customers, that's just the way it was. Customers would, we would have global admin privileges. Well, Microsoft has adopted in the past several years, you'll hear them say zero trust. So their premise is we trust no one. And if we have to trust you, we're only going to trust you a little bit for the shortest period of time necessary. That is my English version of what global delegated admin privileges mean. And so Microsoft, that is one of the first steps in restricting people who are not within our organizations access to our systems and to our data.
All right. Thank you very much, Tom. I don't see any other questions coming through. So I just like to take this time to thank everyone for attending. And if you are watching this on demand, thank you for taking the time out to view this. Any other last minute words to wrap up with, Tom?
No, Angie, just thanks to you, thanks to the Innovia team, and thanks to everyone who took time to attend this morning. I look forward to seeing everyone in Denver. And if you haven't signed up yet, I'd encourage you to sign up for Innovia Con and Dynamics Con. Great training, and it's going to be a great time.
All right. Thank you. And everyone, you can visit our resources page. I put that link in the chat. We have all of our links to everything that we have across Innovia, so you can find it there in one spot on the resources page. So yes, we look forward to seeing you in Denver. So if you haven't registered, that link can also take you to our conferences page to get registered for both events, InnoviaCon and DynamicsCon Live. So those are two separate events, separate registrations. InnoviaCon is free, DynamicsCon is not. There is a fee for DynamicsCon Live. So just make sure you get those registrations in, and we hope to see you in Denver. Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Have
Tom.
a good day. Thank you.